In the vast ocean of human desires, few are as persistent and consuming as the craving for food. We eat not only to nourish our bodies, but also to satisfy emotions, quiet anxieties, and momentarily escape suffering. But what if the key to true health and well-being was not found in modern diets or fleeting trends, but in the wisdom of the Buddha himself? Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha discovered the profound truth of balance, the middle way. After years of extreme asceticism, denying himself even basic sustenance, and before that, indulging in the excesses of his royal upbringing, he realized that neither extreme led to enlightenment. Instead, he taught that true liberation comes when we transcend both indulgence and deprivation, choosing mindful nourishment over blind consumption. One of the most striking examples of this teaching can be found in the monastic lifestyle. In the Theravada tradition, monks and nuns follow a disciplined practice of eating only in the morning and refraining from food after noon. However, this is not about starvation. Rather, it is a practice of mindfulness. Each bite is taken with full awareness, recognizing that food is not for pleasure alone, but to sustain the body as a vehicle for enlightenment. Every grain of rice is received with gratitude, every morsel consumed with reverence, and the act of eating itself becomes a meditation. But this wisdom is not reserved for monks alone. The middle way offers guidance for all, especially in today's world, where food is abundant and distractions are endless. We often eat mindlessly, consuming more than our bodies need, eating for entertainment rather than nourishment. This habitual overconsumption leads not only to physical ailments such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, but also fosters spiritual stagnation. On the other hand, many people pursue extreme dietary restrictions, depriving themselves in pursuit of an idealized body, unknowingly cultivating suffering rather than liberation. The Buddha encouraged his followers to reflect before eating. Is this food nourishing my body, or am I simply feeding my cravings? This single question has the power to transform our relationship with food. When we eat mindfully, we break the chains of attachment. We begin to recognize that true satisfaction does not come from how much we consume, but from how deeply we are present with each bite. To practice mindful eating, one does not need to be a monk or follow rigid rules. Instead, we can adopt simple but profound habits inspired by the Buddha's teachings. 1. Eat with awareness. Before taking a bite, pause. Observe the colors, textures, and scents of your food. Appreciate the effort that brought it to your plate. 2. Chew slowly. Savor each bite, experiencing the full depth of its taste. This not only aids digestion, but cultivates gratitude. 3. Recognize hunger versus craving. Ask yourself if you are truly hungry or simply seeking comfort. By distinguishing between need and desire, we gain control over our impulses. 4. Practice moderation. The Buddha advised his monks to stop eating before they were completely full, leaving space for digestion and mental clarity. 5. Express gratitude. Acknowledge the farmers, the cook, the sun, the rain, everything that contributed to the food before you. This cultivates humility and appreciation. The practice of mindful eating is not just about physical health. It is about spiritual awakening. When we eat with intention, we cultivate self-discipline, break the cycle of attachment, and align ourselves with the deeper truths of existence. Food ceases to be just fuel or fleeting pleasure. It becomes a means of connecting to life itself. In the end, the middle way teaches us that the answer is not found in indulgence or deprivation, but in balance. The next time you sit down for a meal, let it not be an act of routine consumption, but an opportunity for mindfulness. Let every bite be a step toward harmony, a moment of awareness, and a reflection of the path to true liberation. For in the wisdom of the Buddha, even the simplest act, eating, can become a gateway to enlightenment. In today's world, eating has become an afterthought. We consume our meals while staring at screens, scrolling through endless distractions, barely aware of what we are putting into our bodies. We eat in a rush, driven by habit rather than hunger, indulging in cravings rather than nourishing ourselves. This is the very opposite of what the Buddha taught. His wisdom reveals that eating, when done with awareness, is not just an act of sustenance, but a profound spiritual practice, one that can transform both body and mind. The Buddha introduced the practice of mindful eating, an approach rooted in presence and gratitude. This practice is not about restricting food or following rigid dietary rules, but about developing awareness in each moment. Before eating, he encouraged his disciples to pause, to look at the food before them, to appreciate the effort and conditions that made it possible, from the farmers who grew it, to the rain that nourished the crops, to the many hands that prepared the meal. The Buddha understood that mindfulness begins before the first bite, in the moment of recognition that food is a gift, not an entitlement. As one eats, mindfulness deepens. The Buddha advised his monks to chew slowly, to fully experience the textures, flavors, and sensations of each bite. This was not a trivial exercise, but a path to breaking attachment and deepening gratitude. Eating without awareness leads to overconsumption and imbalance. Overeating dulls the mind, while neglecting nourishment weakens the body. But when one eats mindfully, food becomes more than sustenance. It becomes a meditation, a practice in being fully present. Science today echoes what the Buddha taught over 2,500 years ago. Eating slowly and with awareness improves digestion, enhances nutrient absorption, and reduces unnecessary cravings. When we pay attention, we are more in tune with our body's true needs, rather than reacting to emotional hunger. This is why Buddhist monks and nuns do not eat for pleasure or indulgence, but for the simple purpose of sustaining life and supporting their path to awakening. Each meal is received with gratitude, consumed with awareness, and completed with a reflection on its purpose. The Buddha's teachings remind us that our thoughts shape our reality. He once said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." If our minds are lost in distraction while eating, if we consume without awareness, what kind of world are we creating within ourselves? A world of mindlessness, of excess, of craving. But if we choose to be present, to honor the food before us, and to eat with intention, we cultivate a world of harmony and balance. Mindful eating is not reserved for monks or those who follow strict spiritual paths. It is a practice that anyone can embrace in any setting. To incorporate this wisdom into daily life, one can follow simple but transformative steps. 1. Pause before eating. Before taking the first bite, take a moment to look at your food. Acknowledge the energy, time, and conditions that made this meal possible. Express gratitude for its presence. 2. Engage your senses. Observe the colors, textures, and aromas of your food. Allow yourself to fully experience each aspect before consuming it. 3. Choose slowly and deliberately. Instead of rushing, take the time to savor each bite. Notice the flavors as they unfold. Be fully present with the act of eating. 4. Distinguish hunger from craving. Ask yourself, am I eating because my body needs nourishment? Or am I simply trying to escape discomfort or boredom? By recognizing the difference, you gain control over your impulses. 5. Eat in silence. When possible, eating without distractions, even for a few moments, allows deeper connection to the experience and prevents mindless consumption. 6. Stop before you are completely full. The Buddha advised his followers to eat until they were satisfied, not stuffed. Leaving space in the stomach maintains clarity of mind and prevents heaviness. In practicing mindful eating, we begin to see food not as a source of mere pleasure or an automatic habit, but as an opportunity to cultivate awareness and gratitude. Each meal becomes a chance to align with the wisdom of the middle way, avoiding both indulgence and deprivation, embracing balance in every aspect of life. The next time you eat, consider this. Is your meal an unconscious habit, or is it a meditation in presence? The Buddha's wisdom teaches that the smallest actions, like how we eat, reflect the state of our minds. When we eat with mindfulness, we nourish not just the body, but the soul. And in doing so, we step closer to the path of liberation. The Buddha understood that food was far more than just sustenance. It was medicine for both the body and the mind. What we consume shapes not only our physical health, but also our mental clarity, emotions, and spiritual well-being. In his wisdom, the Buddha taught that mindful eating was essential for cultivating balance, inner peace, and a clear path toward enlightenment. For Buddhist monks and nuns, food is received with gratitude and consumed with intention. They follow a diet centered on simple, natural, and wholesome foods: grains, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. These foods provide the body with energy while keeping the mind sharp and unburdened. Processed foods, excessive spices, and indulgent flavors are avoided, not because they are inherently evil, but because they disrupt the harmony of the body and mind. Overindulgence leads to sluggishness, attachment, and craving. 3 obstacles on the path to liberation. One of the most intriguing aspects of Buddhist dietary discipline is the avoidance of the 5 pungent foods: garlic, onions, leeks, shallots, and chives. These ingredients, according to Buddhist teachings, disturb mental clarity and agitate the mind. In Mahayana Buddhism, it is said that these foods can increase aggression, lust, and anxiety when eaten raw, and create lethargy and dullness when cooked. Science now supports some of these ancient insights, revealing that certain foods have a direct impact on mood, cognition, and emotional stability. The Buddha's approach to food was not about restriction for its own sake. It was about cultivating awareness. He encouraged his disciples to consume only what was necessary, neither indulging in excess nor depriving the body of nourishment. In Theravada traditions, monks and nuns eat only during the morning hours, abstaining from food in the afternoon and evening. This practice trains the mind to overcome attachment to taste and hunger, reinforcing the understanding that food is meant to sustain, not to gratify. Yet, the Buddha's wisdom is not reserved for monastics alone. Anyone can apply these principles to their daily lives and witness profound changes in body and mind. In modern times, we are bombarded with highly processed foods, artificial additives, and excessive stimulants that disconnect us from the natural rhythms of our bodies. These foods not only affect our physical health, but also cloud our thoughts, increase anxiety, and diminish mindfulness. The Buddha's teachings offer an antidote. Eat simply, eat mindfully, and eat with purpose. If you seek clarity, balance, and deeper connection to your own well-being, consider taking on this challenge. For 1 week, eat like a monk. No processed foods. Avoid artificial additives, excessive sugar, and heavily refined products. Stick to whole, natural foods. No excessive spices or stimulants. Keep meals simple and nourishing, free from overly stimulating flavors. No mindless eating. Eat in silence when possible, focusing on each bite with full awareness. No overeating. Stop before you feel full. The Buddha advised eating just enough to sustain the body without creating heaviness. No eating after noon. If possible, try eating only in the morning hours, allowing the digestive system to rest and the mind to remain clear. Throughout this practice, observe how your body and mind respond. Do you feel lighter, more focused, less anxious? Food, when consumed with mindfulness and intention, becomes a tool for transformation. It becomes not just nourishment, but a path toward greater self-awareness. In the end, the middle way, the Buddha's teaching of balance, applies to everything, including how we eat. The goal is not deprivation, nor is it indulgence. It is about understanding what serves the body and mind best and making choices that lead to harmony rather than attachment. So, as you take your next bite, consider this. Is your food healing you or is it weighing you down? The choice, as always, is yours. For thousands of years, Buddhist monks have followed a simple yet profound discipline. They eat only once or twice a day, always before noon. This practice, known as bhikkhu bhojana, is not about self-denial or suffering, but about cultivating mindfulness and inner clarity. The Buddha himself advised his disciples to avoid eating after midday, explaining that an empty stomach aids in meditation, sharpens the mind, and aligns the body with the natural rhythms of life. In modern times, science has caught up with what the Buddha knew millennia ago. Today, researchers call this intermittent fasting, and its benefits are astounding. Studies show that restricting food intake to a certain period of the day improves digestion, enhances cognitive function, promotes cellular repair, and even extends lifespan. But for the Buddha and his followers, the significance of this practice went far beyond physical health. It was a path to spiritual liberation. Food is essential to life, but attachment to it leads to suffering. The Buddha taught that overindulgence dulls the mind and fuels desire, making it harder to attain wisdom. He once said, "One who eats too much, sleeps too much, is lazy and inactive. Such a person can never awaken." Conversely, moderation in eating cultivates discipline, mindfulness, and detachment, freeing the mind from unnecessary distractions. Imagine this. Instead of feeling sluggish and weighed down by heavy meals, you feel light, energized, and present. Instead of craving food out of habit, you eat with awareness, appreciating each bite as nourishment rather than indulgence. Instead of allowing hunger to control you, you learn to observe it, understanding that it is temporary and does not define your well-being. Many Buddhists today still follow this ancient wisdom, not only in monasteries, but in everyday life. The benefits go beyond individual health. They foster gratitude, reduce waste, and encourage simplicity. The act of eating becomes sacred, a moment of connection with the present rather than a mindless routine. Could it be that the secret to better health, clearer thinking, and inner peace has been hiding in plain sight all along? As the modern world grapples with diseases linked to overconsumption, stress, and unhealthy eating habits, perhaps the Buddha's teachings offer not just a spiritual path, but a guide to a healthier, more balanced way of living. The answer does not lie in the latest diet trend, but in an ancient truth. When we master our desires, we master ourselves. In today's world, food is often taken for granted. It is consumed hurriedly, wasted carelessly, and rarely appreciated for what it truly is. We eat not out of necessity, but out of habit, distraction, or indulgence. Yet, in the teachings of the Buddha, food is not merely sustenance. It is a sacred offering, a gift that sustains life, and a reflection of our interconnectedness with all beings. For Buddhist monks, the act of eating is an extension of their spiritual practice. They do not buy food, nor do they demand it. Instead, they receive alms, offerings given with kindness and generosity from lay people. Every bite they take is received with deep humility, gratitude, and mindfulness. Before eating, they contemplate. This food is not taken for pleasure, nor for indulgence, nor for beautification, nor for pride. It is taken only for the nourishment of this body, for the sustenance of life, to support the practice of the path. This perspective transforms food from something ordinary into something deeply meaningful. It reminds us that every grain of rice, every drop of water, and every piece of fruit comes from countless beings. Farmers who toiled in the fields, hands that harvested and prepared it, even the earth and rain that nourished the plants. In this understanding, no meal is simple. Each is a profound act of interdependence. Now imagine bringing this same awareness into your own life. Before you eat, pause. Observe your food, not with greed or impatience, but with gratitude. Reflect on the journey it took to reach you. Consider the effort, the resources, and the kindness that made it possible. Eating in this way transforms the mundane into the sacred. It fosters contentment, reduces waste, and deepens our connection with the world. Gratitude is a powerful force. When we eat mindfully, we cultivate not only appreciation, but also responsibility. The Buddha taught that misusing resources, whether through greed, gluttony, or wastefulness, leads to suffering. By recognizing the true value of food, we learn to take only what we need, to share with others, and to live with greater harmony. This practice is not limited to monks. Anyone can eat with mindfulness and gratitude. Whether you are enjoying a simple bowl of rice or a lavish meal, the attitude you bring to eating shapes its impact on your mind and soul. When you eat with greed, food can become a source of attachment. When you eat with gratitude, it nourishes not just your body, but your spirit. In a world where food is abundant yet mindlessly consumed, perhaps the greatest offering we can make is our awareness, to see food as a gift, to honor it with reverence, to recognize that in every meal there is an opportunity, not just to feed ourselves, but to cultivate wisdom, compassion, and appreciation for the interconnected web of life. The next time you eat, remember this: food is not just fuel, it is life itself. Treat it with the respect it deserves, and in doing so, you may find that every meal becomes a step on the path to enlightenment. The Buddha's teachings on food were never about rigid rules or restrictions. They were about awareness, about how we live, how we think, and how we cultivate wisdom through even the simplest act of eating. For the Buddha, food was not just sustenance. It was a means to train the mind, to develop discipline, and to understand the delicate balance between indulgence and deprivation. In the middle way, the Buddha taught that extremes, whether in eating, thinking, or living, lead to suffering. Overindulgence weakens the body, clouds the mind, and fuels attachment. But deprivation, too, brings harm, creating unnecessary struggle and obstructing spiritual clarity. The key is balance, a mindful approach that allows both body and mind to function harmoniously. So, what can we learn from this ancient wisdom? 1. Eat in moderation. Too much food dulls the senses and burdens the body. Too little weakens the spirit. The Buddha advised his monks to eat just enough to sustain their practice. No more, no less. This principle applies to all of us. When we eat mindfully, we recognize when we are truly hungry and when we are merely eating out of habit, boredom, or craving. 2. Be present with your food. Mindless eating leads to excess, dissatisfaction, and detachment from the reality of nourishment. The Buddha encouraged mindfulness in every aspect of life, including meals. When you eat, taste your food fully. Appreciate its flavors, textures, and origins. Notice how it sustains you. Eating is not merely an act of consumption, it is an opportunity to cultivate presence. 3. Choose food that heals. Natural, simple, whole. This is how food was meant to be. The Buddha advised avoiding overly stimulating foods that excite the senses and lead to attachment. Instead, he encouraged a diet that promotes clarity, energy, and well-being. In today's world of processed, artificial, and excessive consumption, returning to nature, choosing real, nourishing foods can restore both body and mind. 4. Give your body a break. Fasting was never meant as punishment. In Buddhist practice, it is a path to freedom. By allowing the body to rest from constant digestion, we give it space to heal, renew, and function more efficiently. More importantly, we break the chains of attachment to food, recognizing that hunger is not an enemy but a teacher. It teaches patience, self-control, and an understanding of impermanence. 5. Cultivate gratitude. Every meal is a gift. The Buddha taught that food should not be taken for granted, but received with appreciation and humility. Before eating, monastics reflect, this food is given through the generosity of others. May it nourish this body so that I may walk the path with wisdom and compassion. Whether a simple bowl of rice or an elaborate feast, each bite is an opportunity to practice gratitude for the earth, for those who prepared the meal, and for the life it sustains. In a world obsessed with diet fads, health trends, and quick fixes, the real secret to longevity, clarity, and inner peace isn't something new, it's something ancient. The Buddha's teachings remind us that true well-being is not found in extremes, but in balance. It is not about control, but about awareness. It is not about following rules, but about understanding ourselves deeply. So the real question is, are we ready to listen? Are we ready to return to mindfulness, to moderation, to gratitude? If we are, then every meal can become a lesson in wisdom, a moment of connection, and a step on the path to true freedom.